move on to other matters. Keir Starmer, he's not even in office yet, is he? But there's been lots of focus on potential U-turns now. We've been looking at a pledge to scrap university tuition fees now if he forms a government. Initially, of course, you'll remember that he said that basically it would keep the promise that was first put forward by Jeremy Corbyn, but now says that the economic climate basically just isn't right. John, if my memory serves me correctly, you was on my show a few weeks ago and you were saying to me that you thought 75%
was a good target.
Was a good target to get to university. I said I thought you was talking bonkers. Have you come to your senses since?
No, 75% is still my...
Right, so you
my
still
number
stand...
is one I agree with David Willits. So it's me and Lord Willits. It's a cross-party arrangement.
So 75% should be going to university in John's mind. Let's talk about this whole notion then of tuition fees. Do you think basically it should be free to go to university?
No, you can't. You can't open university to as many people as need it and would benefit from it if it was free. You have to have a fee structure of some form. You have to balance the benefits of the country and the benefits of the individual. But £9,000 is just too much, and you can tell it's too much because more than half of people who've got student loans, even the government says now, are never going to pay them back. And so the system is just ridiculous.
But why are they not going to pay it back? Because they're not going to reach the earnings.
They're not going to earn enough money.
Now let's push that forward then. Why are they not going to earn enough money? Because degrees have become devalued because they are 10 a penny, and if you get your wish of even more people going, that's going to be even worse.
Because they've got extortionate interest on them. It's the most extortionate interest anybody charges at the moment, I think.
Quentin, your thoughts?
I've got two children who've been sort of through university and one who's still there, and I'm dubious about the value of the courses that certainly they have experienced. I would prefer to see slightly cheaper universities for fewer people. I prefer, funnily enough, to make universities more elitist and have fewer people going there and have them cheaper, but have them really for people who needed to go to university intellectually and professionally.
Yeah, like a brain surgeon. I do not want anyone operating on me without a university degree and qualifications.
Yeah.
But your standard, your professions now, so your policing, your nursing, all of these kind of professions that now you have to have a degree to get into. I think that's a little bit pointless.
Yeah, I don't think you need to have a university degree, say, to be a primary school teacher, but that is how it's being presented now. Ditto to be a nurse. I mean, I know a kid who's got a university degree who's going to go and work behind a desk at a car hire company. I don't think that's necessary. And I think it's rather discouraging.
I'm guessing that's not because he studied something to do with cars or desks or whatever, but because he can't get into his chosen profession, right?
That's right. And, it seems to me rather dispiriting. It's also, they'd probably learn more about life if they went and worked in those university years.
And don't you, we've kind of had this conversation. I worry so much that when you set these these targets, let's push more education, let's get more people into university, then it just becomes this almost kind of token status. Yes, my child's got a degree or whatever. Any employer then starts just adding the word 2-1 or above on the bottom of all of their job applications. It means absolutely nothing.
Oh, look, I think the nature of the modern labour market, we've seen it with the introduction of AI into things, is that more and more simple skills, anything that can be automated gets automated. Things are being automated in lots of areas, and that what you need is more creativity, more human skills, more of the interactive skills. And I think that for people to spend the 3 years from being 18 to 21 in university, or maybe 2 years, a 2-year degree could definitely be, I think, done. A 2-year degree could be cheaper and more productive. Use more. I think there's a maturing and there's a learning, and I don't think people don't end up doing the profession, filling the profession that they did the degree in. I studied 7th century Irish at university, and I became Tony Blair's political secretary. Right. So sometimes there's a big disconnect between what you study and what you end up doing.
And let's talk.
So you studied Irish and you wrote double Dutch.
Oh.
Well, let's.
But actually, funnily,
I nearly added a fair sentence there. It wasn't
one of the reasons. But one of the reasons I'm sceptical about the need for so many kids to go to university is that, funny, I think the Blair government did tremendous things in schools, and I think our schools are much better than they used to be.
And people stay on longer now too.
Yeah,
well, the teachers
nobody
don't
leaves
think
at 16.
That, do they? Hence, they're out on the streets saying it's not just about pay, but it's about conditions.
That's not the Blair years. That's been the Tory years. There.
Well, let's talk about Starmer then, shall we? Because he's getting a bit of criticism, basically, for flip-flop U-turning. Do you think it's justified?
Well, the way this policy was raise corporation tax. We're going to come on to business tax a bit later.
We are.
Raise corporation tax and spend that money on getting rid of university fees. Now, that was a mad Corbynite policy, but it did have a logic to it. That corporation tax has been raised by Rishi, and it's being used to pay down the debt. So the tax is gone. We can't raise the corporation tax. So Keir's been quite pragmatic. Like, if we don't have the tax, we can't do that. We'll have to do something different. And I think they're looking for a different
tax
settlement.
has just increased, though.
No. So Rishi's done the tax raising that Jeremy Corbyn wants to do.
Right.
So the tax raise has been done.
I think
You would
Starmer's right.
tax,
Starmer's
but don't
right
forget-
to cancel this policy. It was never a good policy. It was never going to be possible economically to give everyone a free
It's not
university.
equitable. It's not an equitable
It just wasn't going to work. So, I mean, this it happens
Redistribution
with
of the middle class people.
opposition leaders come into contact with reality the closer they get to possible power.
And they start throwing stuff off the boat.
And George Osborne said the other day in a Westminster committee, "Oh, I said one thing in opposition, and as soon as I got into power, I did something else."
But
I mean, they all do it.
I've got a good memory tonight. I don't know what's happening. I've obviously had my coffee, but I can remember you talk about equitable taxes and all the rest of it. I remember you on my programme not that long ago saying that if you've grafted, you've bought a house and now you've got a spare bedroom in your privately owned property, everybody, you reckon that you should tax that.
I was then. Look, you've got a great memory, but I say memorable things clearly.
Well, you say things. You say things. There's a word associated to that. Memorable is a right
charge
way
more.
of it, yes.
We do need more taxation on the unearned wealth in Britain, and a bedroom tax for the private sector.
That's what he wanted to do. Quentin, he
would
wanted to tax
He's
the
not
spare
easy.
bedrooms of a private property.
One of life's natural shoplifters. He wants to go around taking money out of people. I just
Pickpocketer
think
rather shoplifter, come on.
They get enough of our money, and I want to keep more of it myself, thank you. I think I can spend it better, my money, than some idiot minister of the government.
Bernard says all education should be free, and if our taxes can subsidise civil servant pensions, then they can subsidise our kids' education. Why would you want, I don't know, your working class lad that's left school as young as he could and got into an apprenticeship, why should he have to fund the tuition fees of someone that wants to do, I don't know, whatever random subject at
Theology.
university? Well, I can be honest, I nearly said theology, but because of your story that your child was studying that, I decided not to be rude, so I decided to say random subject rather than making it personal.
Doesn't want to be rude.
David says, I do not believe university fees should be
The
free.
princess coming out.
If it was free, there would be a free-for-all, and we simply couldn't afford it. David says, having to pay fees makes people perhaps consider whether or not university is right for them. What I would try and do is create some form of scheme so that when you've got the professions that we need in our society, I don't know, your doctors, your nurses, whatever, I would actually have some kind of scheme where I'm retaining that talent in the NHS as it is and doing some kind of conditional write-off of their debts.
I think that's right.
in
I
return.
think for professions like that, you should have a deal. But for maths teachers, you should say if you're a maths teacher for a number of years, we'll write down the debt over years. Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's the thought, isn't it? Spending taxpayers' money, more of it, on university fees. How do we get all this taxpayer cash then? Another idea that's been floating around. Windfall tax. BP have announced their profits today. It's got people up in arms demanding that they pay more. How much more? See you in 2.